Okay, so we're going to be making a fetch quest sort of game. We're going to be building this out over a couple of videos where we'll make a landscape, make an environment with some sort of side quest stuff going on here. And since this is the first video, let's get us up with the basics. What I've done is I've just imported a couple of sort of just placeholder models right now, nothing proper. And this is sort of going to be my billboard, which you're going to walk over to and interact with, and that's going to tell you where to go next. And to do this, we're going to need to make this interactable and to create a user interface to do so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create myself a new folder, which I'm just going to call BPs for blueprints, and inside there right click to create a new blueprint class of type actor, which I'll just call billboard underscore BP. Now we're going to be keeping this fairly straightforward, so hopefully it should be quite easy for most of you. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to find my mesh and drag it in. Let me just have a quick check of scale, because I didn't do these placeholder scale, so that's going to want to be a little bit bigger. The other thing is the axis is a bit off, and you might need to change this for a few of your models, so it's worth going over this now real quick. I'm just going to go from selection mode to modeling, and then click X form, edit pivot, and choose bottom. And go ahead and hit accept on that. So with my placeholder, I can now drag this in, and I know I want this to be a little bit bigger, possibly 1.5. And let's remove that out and go to where that is and test it now. See if the scale's better. Yeah, that's a good billboard size. Alright, so let's just throw you over here for now. And what we want to do is we're going to basically have a box that when the person overlaps with the box, if they engage with it, then we'll pop up a text box. So let's start by creating a box collision. This is going to represent the area in which the player can collide or interact with the billboard. Cool, that'll sort of do. So with this box selected, I'm going to scroll down this right hand side and grab on begin play. You know what? While we're here, let's go back to viewport and let's also grab that box again and say on end overlap. And I'm using the third person template here. So if you've not renamed your character, just hit third person. If you have renamed your character, then just type in the name of your character. And essentially, what we're going to say is when it overlaps with the player, then what we're going to do is we're just going to enable input. And when we leave, we're going to disable input. And we're going to need reference to the player controller. Get player controller. Now, because that's in control, we can actually just YU on both sides. Now, I've not set up inputs yet. I might do that later, but for now I'm just going to type in keyboard E. Where's keyboard E? There we go. And so when E is pressed, now this is only going to work when we're inside that area. So when it's pressed, let's just test it by doing a print string and make sure that this is going to work. Okay, let's give it a quick go. Hit play, walk over to it, press E, prints hello, walk away, press E, does nothing. Excellent. So at this point, we're going to want to create ourselves a user interface. Now we're going to want a couple of these, so I'm going to make a whole new folder, which we can just call UI, or words of that nature. And in that UI folder, I'm going to right click, go to user interface, and create a widget blueprint. And let's just call this billboard text. Now we don't actually, I mean, with the final image, then we'll probably have like a couple of like posters on there and text box stuff, but ultimately we don't want the player to have to read that because resolution is going to differ and change. So this is why we'll have this pop-up window. And in here, I'm just going to create a canvas panel, drag that canvas panel in, and I'm going to create a text. Text. Cool. We can make this text box quite big, make the font a bit bigger, And you know what? I want to centrally align it. And, you know, you can make tweaks or changes as to this, change your fonts and whatnot if you've got them, change your colours. But I'm also going to grab an image. Make this big too, cover the whole thing. Make sure your anchors, you've got it stretched so it's going to cover your whole screen. And Z order it so it's going to be behind. So saying that's -1. Now with the colour and opacity, let's make it sort of a near black or full black. And just drop the opacity in it to about there, I think. Probably should be fine. So when this pops up, it's going to make the text nice and legible. So if we've got different billboards or we want the text to say different things at different points, we can set this up as a variable. But for now, let's not worry about that. Let's just keep this simple. And over on the right hand side, let's say Farmer Yumi is looking for a helper. Head to Adventure Bay. Oh, look at that. It's not wrapped around. Cool. What we're going to need to do is scroll down over here and look for wrapping and just turn on auto wrapping. Cool. If that looks alright, you know, at this point, let's see what it would look like with size 100 font. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Excellent. So, back to our billboard now. Let's get rid of that print string. We don't need it anymore. And instead, what we're going to do is we're going to create a widget. And this is going to be our billboard widget. And we're going to want to add to viewport. And what we're also going to do is, with this reference again, dragging off this, we're going to want to remove from parent, which is essentially the fancy way of saying delete. And let's put a delay between those. So let's say this is going to be on screen for 2 seconds. And let's give it a test. So now if we walk over to it, it tells us Farmer Yumi is looking for Farmer Yumi is looking for a helper. Head to Adventure Bay. We can actually press it lots of times, so we don't want that to happen. And it's too short. So that delay, let's just make that 5 seconds. And let's make sure that the user can only actually press this once. So we're going to do a do once. But John, what if they walk away and they forget what they have to do? Good question. Well, we're going to need to reset this. So on a reset, what we can do is, once it's done from here, I'm just going to throw another short delay in there of like half a second. And I'm going to drag from this completed into the reset. Now, yes, that is ugly. So if we double click this white node, we can create these reroute nodes here and make it slightly prettier. Look at that. Ever so slightly prettier. That'll do. So that should mean we can only pop up this window once upon a time. Farmer Yumi is looking for a helper. Head to Adventure Bay. Let's also do it so when the player exits, we're going to want to remove again. So let's get that. And let's also just quickly promote this to a variable. So drag off it and type promote to a variable and say bill ref. So this is just going to be a reference to our billboard. So we're going to drag that in there. Now, the reason we're doing that is because we want to reference it. So we can get this and we can say remove the parent. But let's just make sure it is valid. I never remember which valid. I think both work anyway. But I think the second one gives it all as one execution. So execute this. If it's valid, remove from parent. So that way, what should happen is if we walk away from the billboard now, there you go. We do we do see it working. Excellent. That'll do us for this one. That is the start. Next time we'll get up a farmer setup.